Major and minor pentatonic. What the F?
What the F?
So many questions. What is the difference between major and pentatonic? Why? When do you use this? Why does it matter? It's like an example. Like, okay, I'm gonna be the A minor pentatonic scale.
Great. I'm gonna be the C major pentatonic.
That was so different, right?
What the F?
Yeah. Nobody knows, right? Now, the reason nobody knows is because if you talk about these notes as different scales without anything behind them, it doesn't make sense. There is no difference. I mean, there's an order, and to be fair, if you do play it in one order, maybe it sounds more somber. If you start on the A, if you start on the C, maybe it sounds happier. But without anything behind this, it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. If you're playing the scales by themselves, it doesn't make sense. And if you're like me, and you're trying to learn this stuff, and you don't have, and you're just playing the scales, it doesn't make sense. So we're here.
That's right. The tag team, the pentatonic tag team is what we are. And we're going to introduce something called the tonal center.
Tonal center.
It's a very fancy sounding phrase.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
In fact, I spell tonal center C-E-N-T-R-E.
That's how fancy you are.
That's how I keep it, right?
You're going to put on the screen right there, right?
Yeah, tonal center, right? Very fancy. Now, what that means is basically, this is going to be where the song is kind of just staying. It's almost like the song is staying, floating in one thing around a certain note.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. It's like,
so let's take something in the key of C.
Perfect.
Right? Everybody's favorite key, which we have 6 main chords: C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, right?
Perfect.
If you don't even know that, whatever. Some of them are major, some of them are minor, right?
Fine.
So if we come up with a chord progression that is all of those major chords, C, F, and G, right? I'm going to have 4 spots for chords. The first one's going to be C, 1, to F, to G, to C. And then it cycles again and starts on a C again. On a C, right? So we would presume that the tonal center there is C. We're in the key of C, had 4 spots. Half of those spots were taken up by the C chord. 50% of that song was a C chord.
Yes.
The tonal center is C.
C major.
C major,
C major.
right? So what does that mean as far as minor or major pentatonic, and how do you use that?
Well, if we have our druthers, I would say that the tonal center becomes a C major, so we want to play a C major pentatonic. And really quickly, you can give the rock and roll sign, right? And we can do this pentatonic.
It's metal, right?
Metal
there.
sign.
Yeah.
This is far from metal, but you can make a metal sign.
Metal. C, F, G, the most metal chord progression ever, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
And we have our form 1 pentatonic, and really, if you line up in the 5th fret here, you have your A, and you have your C, and that pinky right there, that becomes the major root note right there. So that's a C major pentatonic, same as the A minor.
Yeah, so play me 6 notes starting right here.
That's A minor.
Right, yeah. The A minor pentatonic shape.
Yes.
Because we're rooting on an A minor. But again, these are the same 5 notes as are in the C major. But when you play this shape over these chords, these major chords,
then this becomes home.
Right?
Yep.
So C. Whatever.
I can one more
right?
That
was beautiful.
Thank you.
That took me to a happy place.
Oh, I'm glad.
Right there. And that was the pentatonic scale. Was that the A minor pentatonic scale? Arguably. Whatever.
But tonal center was on C.
The tonal center was C, right?
Yes.
So I would
say
argue that he was playing the C major pentatonic scale, even though you could be thinking about it as an A minor shape.
He would be correct, because that ended up, because he tonal centered me into C major.
Centered you good right there.
He did. It's coming. Word coming.
Now what happens if I switch it, right? Let's lose these major chords. I'm having a bad day.
Yeah.
Right? I found out that CFG was in fact not metal.
Yeah.
And I was made fun of at Hot Topic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch these chords to A minor, E minor, and D minor.
Yeah.
And he's going to stay in the same spot because he didn't go to Hot Topic. He didn't have a bad day. He's just doing his thing, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm going A minor. Right?
Yeah.
You didn't do anything differently.
Nothing different.
I changed. I provided a different tonal center.
Tonal center.
Which I had that. I was really banging home on that chord right there, right? A minor. So you would presume the tonal center would be
A minor.
There we go.
And there we go. So what happens is we're in the key of C right now. And just like Sean said, we have C, F, and G major, or we have A minor, D minor, and E minor for the minor chords that go into this key. And depending on where you start, it's going to take either this A minor or C major pentatonic. It's going to force it into a tonal center. And that's how you can really discern whether or not you are going to be playing a major pentatonic or a minor pentatonic. I was telling Sean, we had this great talk, that I think of pentatonics like blank scales, right? Just a pentatonic.
They're just notes out in
notes.
the ether.
Yeah, out
right?
there. It's 5 notes out in the ether, and not until we assign a tonal center.
Context. is what we're talking
Context.
about,
Context.
right? In
Context. Not until we have a context point does one of those notes become the tonal center. And that's how you can tell whether the difference between a major and minor pentatonic is the context in which it's played in. So if you're playing C's and F's and G's and C's and you're playing this pentatonic, it really has forced it into a C major pentatonic. If all of a sudden you have a bad day, turn into A minors, then all of a sudden it's forced into a tonal center. It's become minor.
Sure.
So really,
And this is kind of an extreme example because I'm using nothing but minor chords in a progression or nothing but major chords in a progression. A more real life situation, you'd have a mix, right?
Yes.
And that's where a tonal center can actually kind of be debatable.
Yes.
Depending on who you're playing with, the genre of music, and stuff like that.
But this is where it starts. This is the fundamental ideas of having a tonal center and whether or not you need to play a major or minor pentatonic and the differences between them, which really depends on the context. Great word.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
That was
man.
awesome. Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit more about specifically like blues music and how you use a major or minor pentatonic over what key you're in.
Oh,
because
yeah.
we're talking about staying in the same key.
Yes.
Like I'm in C, he's using either A minor or C major. But what happens if you kind of play the wrong
Yes.
pentatonic scale over a certain set of chords?
Yeah. So we want to do
Right.
an E.
Sure, E major?
E
So I'll
major.
do the, do you want me to play sevens? Or?
Yeah, no, E's are E's.
okay.
It's fine. All right, so we're going to do an E blues, and I think I have a great idea to show you how this works. We're going to talk about 2 guitar players really
Perfect.
quickly. We're going to talk about Eric Clapton and Duane Allman. Now, Eric
the
Clapton,
Allman Brothers?
From the Allman Brothers, yeah. Hopefully you've listened to the Allman Brothers. You should listen to them. Eric Clapton, great blues guitar player. Duane Allman, a guitar player who was influenced by the blues, but actually plays a lot of major blues lines.
Like if you think of the song Jessica,
Yeah.
that's what I think of when I think of Duane Allman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
I always screw up.
Something like that.
It's still beautiful. It's still beautiful. But you're right, it's happy.
Yeah,
Right? And Duane
yeah.
Allman is a happy guitar player. So what I'm going to do is, before we do this, if I put my first finger on the 12th fret here, the tonal center, if I think of it, my tonal center is here. This is an E minor pentatonic. Now remember, I told you that pinky represents the major pentatonic. So if I take my pinky and put it on the 12th fret here, still play a form 1, this is an E major pentatonic. So what I'm going to do right now, what we're going to do, we're going to play, and
Right.
I'm going to introduce 2 guitar players to you.
So I'm going to play blues in E, which again, I'm playing an E. I'm just going to play an E major chord. I'll just loop an E major chord.
Sure, great.
I'm not even going to change.
No.
So you would think, okay, I'll play the E major pentatonic scale, but no, maybe start out with Clapton.
So I'll start with Clapton style.
So you go Clapton style. So I'm playing E major, but he's playing E minor
Yes.
pentatonic.
For the blues. This is the sound of Clapton. 1, 2, ready. And now, Duane Allman. E major. Back to Clapton. And back to Allman.
Cool. So that's a great example of how you can take 2 different keys and take the pentatonic scale, which is I think the easiest thing to just drill
Yeah.
and get good at
Absolutely.
first.
Yeah.
And then just
Necessary.
apply them to 2 different keys and get 2 totally different sounds that sound great.
Absolutely, especially with the blues, because
Yeah.
if you have the mindset right away, well, the minor pentatonic is going to sound like Clapton, the major is going to have that happy Allman Brothers feel. Then when you have that urge, you can call upon it and move it to either minor or major.
Yeah.
It's really that easy.
So to recap, tonal center is kind of where you're basing your shapes around. And then if you want a bluesy tone, play the minor pentatonic scale of the major key you're in.
Yep.
If you want a happier one, just play either the relative minor pentatonic scale of the key you're in,
Yes.
which we've talked a little bit about before, or just the major scale.
Major scale.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
There you go.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Hope it made sense.
For sure. If you like it, go over to Ian's channel. See more Stich Method. I'll link
Stich
you
Method.
below.
Below.
Until next time.
Sean, you rock.
Stop it. You always got to slip that in.
I always have to.
It's kind of weird.
He loves it. Come on. Pandering.
I hear it. I hear it all the time. It's funny.
Really, he does.
Yeah.